My name is Mufti Menk, and today I want to share a powerful reminder that can transform your heart and your life. Too often, we allow the fear of judgment, the need for approval, and the constant pressure to please others to steal our peace, weaken our faith, and cloud our connection with Allah. In this talk, we will explore 6 essential truths: the trap of people pleasing, the cost it has on your faith, the dangers of fearing judgment, how to shift your focus to Allah, practical steps to break free, and the true power of inner peace. By reflecting on these lessons, your heart can become a sanctuary of trust, patience, and sincere devotion. Stay with me until the end, and let Allah's guidance illuminate your path. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe for more life-changing reminders. Every day, we find ourselves caught in a quiet, invisible struggle, a struggle that many of us do not even recognize until it has taken deep root in our hearts. It begins subtly with a desire to be liked, to be accepted, to avoid conflict, to make others happy. At first, it seems harmless, a kind gesture here, a word of kindness there, but gradually it becomes a habit, a silent ruler over your actions, your thoughts, your very sense of self. You start to measure your worth by the reactions of people around you, by their praise, by their approval, by their nods of acceptance, and in doing so, you surrender a piece of your soul. You give away the peace that Allah has placed in your heart for the fleeting judgments of others. The problem with seeking constant approval is that it is endless. Human beings are imperfect. Their opinions are fleeting, inconsistent, and often guided by their own desires and misconceptions. No matter how much you strive, no matter how carefully you act to meet expectations, you will never be able to satisfy every person you meet. Some will misunderstand you, some will judge unfairly, some will criticize without reason. And each time you seek validation from them, your heart experiences a tiny fracture. It is a slow erosion of your inner serenity. You may not notice it at first, but over time, your joy begins to wane, your confidence diminishes, and your connection with Allah, the one whose approval truly matters, becomes clouded. Allah reminds us in the Quran that the heart's contentment does not come from pleasing people, but from submitting to Him. He is Al-Wali, the guardian, the one who knows the innermost secrets of your heart. His guidance is perfect, His mercy is boundless, and His wisdom is beyond our comprehension. When you orient your life toward pleasing Him rather than appeasing every human around you, your actions gain purpose, your intentions gain clarity, and your soul finds a home in tranquility. The heart that seeks Allah's approval over the world's applause is a heart that rests in certainty, not in doubt. Every prayer becomes a balm, every act of kindness a source of true reward, every trial a path to growth rather than a source of insecurity. People pleasing is deceptive because it masquerades as love, kindness, and care. It tells you that the way to earn respect is to conform, to agree, to suppress your own needs, and to bow to the expectations of others. But this is not love, it is a compromise of the soul. True compassion and empathy flow naturally from a heart aligned with Allah's guidance, not from one burdened by fear of judgment. When your actions are dictated by the desire to be liked rather than by the desire to do what is right, you sacrifice authenticity. You live a life that is a reflection of others' expectations rather than a reflection of divine wisdom. Every time you seek validation from someone who does not matter in the eternal scale, you are leaving a gap that only Allah can fill. Human approval is temporary, fragile, and often conditional. A smile today can turn into criticism tomorrow. A compliment can dissolve into a misunderstanding. But Allah's approval is eternal, steadfast, and all-encompassing. It does not waver based on your appearance, your status, or your words. It depends on your sincerity, your effort to obey Him, and your trust in His guidance. When you shift your focus to Allah, you are not only protecting your heart from the instability of human judgment, but you are also planting seeds of peace that grow steadily, nurtured by divine wisdom. It is natural to want to be liked. It is human to desire acceptance. But the moment this desire becomes the compass of your life, it becomes a prison. It confines your thoughts, your words, and your actions. It makes you silent when you should speak, compliant when you should stand firm, and hesitant when you should act with conviction. The Quran tells us to hold fast to what is right, to trust in Allah, and to live with integrity, even when the world misunderstands or opposes us. Seeking His pleasure gives you courage. Seeking His pleasure gives you clarity. Seeking His pleasure gives you freedom. The freedom to act justly, to speak truthfully, and to live authentically. Consider how many moments in life are lost because of people pleasing. Opportunities to grow, to serve, to seek knowledge, to strengthen faith, and to build character are often sacrificed because the fear of disapproval overshadows the desire to obey Allah. Every yes we utter to someone at the expense of a no that protects our values is a small surrender of the soul. Every compromise made to gain acceptance chips away at our inner strength. And yet, when we remind ourselves of Allah's supremacy, His mercy, and His eternal presence, we begin to see the folly in measuring our worth through the eyes of others. The fleeting praise of the world pales in comparison to the everlasting reward of a heart content in Allah's approval. To break free from this cycle, one must first recognize the patterns of seeking approval. When you feel anxious about judgment, pause and reflect. Am I acting to please Allah or to appease someone else? When the fear of disapproval rises in your heart, take a moment to remember that only Allah knows your intentions fully. Only He can reward your effort accurately. Only He can fill the emptiness that the world's praise cannot satisfy. Begin each day with this awareness. Let it shape your interactions, your decisions, and your mindset. Every act done for Him becomes an act of liberation, a step toward inner peace, and a shield against the chaos of worldly judgment. The transformation begins in small, deliberate steps. Speak truth gently, even when others may not like it. Uphold integrity, even when it invites criticism. Prioritize your prayers, your worship, and your values over the fleeting opinions of those around you. Trust in Allah's wisdom to guide your path and provide what is best for your soul. As your trust deepens, the need for constant validation fades. You will begin to notice a serene confidence growing within you, a quiet strength that cannot be shaken by fleeting judgment. The peace of the heart becomes visible in your actions, your speech, and your demeanor. You become a living reminder of Allah's mercy and guidance in a world often obsessed with approval and status. Remember, the heart that seeks the approval of Allah over all else is never truly lonely. Even in solitude, it is accompanied by the most compassionate, the most merciful. Every moment of sincerity, every act of obedience, every intention aligned with His guidance is recognized, cherished, and rewarded in ways that the world cannot measure. Your life gains meaning not because others see it, but because Allah witnesses it, values it, and blesses it. This is the ultimate peace, the ultimate freedom, and the ultimate purpose. When you feel the urge to bend, to conform, to seek validation, pause and let these words settle in your heart. Your worth is not in the eyes of people, it is in the sight of Allah. Nothing else lasts. Nothing else satisfies. Nothing else fulfills. Align your heart, your mind, and your actions with Him, and you will find a peace that the world cannot take, a confidence that cannot be shaken, and a joy that cannot be measured by human opinion. And with that awareness, remember always, true freedom, true serenity, and true contentment are found when you seek only Allah's approval. When we prioritize the opinions of others above the commands of Allah, we begin a subtle but profound weakening of our faith. At first, it may appear harmless, adjusting our behavior to fit in, speaking words to avoid confrontation, smiling when our hearts feel heavy. But these small compromises accumulate. Each act done to please someone else creates a fissure in the foundation of our devotion. Our prayers, once filled with sincerity, begin to feel mechanical. We may stand in prayer physically, yet our hearts wander, distracted by what others think, by what the world expects, rather than what Allah commands. This distraction may seem trivial, but it has deep consequences. Faith is not measured by outward conformity. It is measured by the devotion of the heart, the purity of intention, and the steadfastness in obeying the Creator above all else. The heart is a delicate vessel, designed to hold love, trust, and connection with Allah. When we seek validation from people, we introduce noise into this sacred space. The whispers of human judgment, the fleeting praise, the constant comparison to others, all these distractions create restlessness. Our hearts, once calm in submission, become agitated, anxious, and uncertain. We begin to doubt our worth, our actions, and even our connection to Allah. Every choice becomes a negotiation between what pleases people and what pleases our Lord. And in this struggle, the soul loses its clarity. It is like a lamp that flickers in the wind. Without the protection of sincere devotion, the light that guides us wavers and dims. True strength is never found in the fleeting approval of others. It is not measured by applause, recognition, or acceptance. These are temporary and fragile, capable of disappearing in an instant. Strength is found in obedience to Allah, in aligning our actions with His guidance, and in maintaining our devotion even when it is inconvenient, unpopular, or misunderstood. When a person stands firm in their faith, even when it contradicts the expectations of society, they display a resilience that cannot be shaken. This resilience is not arrogance, nor is it isolation. It is a profound trust in Allah, a reliance on His wisdom, and a deep understanding that His approval is the only approval that truly matters. When we live for others, our acts of worship lose their essence. A prayer performed with the hope of being seen, a fast observed to gain praise, a charity given to earn recognition. These actions are hollow. They may appear outwardly acceptable, even admirable, but they do not nourish the soul. The Quran reminds us repeatedly that Allah is aware of what is hidden in our hearts. He sees every intention, every struggle, and every effort. When our focus is misaligned, when we are driven by the desire to impress rather than to obey, we fail to cultivate the deep spiritual connection that faith demands. We become preoccupied with the world, and the richness of our devotion becomes diluted. The cost of this misalignment extends beyond ritual worship. Our moral compass becomes compromised. Decisions are filtered through the lens of social acceptance rather than divine guidance. We may hold back from speaking truth, delay acting with justice, or compromise principles that Allah has made clear. In doing so, we not only weaken our spiritual foundation, but also our character. Faith is a shield, a guide, and a source of clarity. When we let people's opinions dictate our actions, we dismantle that shield, leaving ourselves vulnerable to confusion, regret, and inner turmoil. Every choice becomes a compromise. Every compromise chips away at the integrity of our soul. Living for Allah's approval requires courage. It requires the willingness to endure misunderstanding, criticism, or even rejection. It requires placing divine guidance above social convenience. This is not an easy path, for human nature naturally seeks acceptance and fear of judgment. But Islam teaches that this struggle is not in vain. Every step taken with sincere intention strengthens the heart, purifies intention, and elevates the soul. Allah promises that the one who remains steadfast, who prioritizes his pleasure over all else, will be guided, protected, and rewarded in ways that the world cannot comprehend. The restlessness that accompanies people pleasing is replaced with a deep, abiding peace, the peace that comes from knowing that you are aligned with the Creator, and no one else's opinion can diminish that. Consider the times when you acted out of fear of disapproval. Perhaps you held your tongue when you should have spoken, agreed when you should have clarified, or delayed a righteous act to avoid conflict. In each of these moments, your heart felt a subtle unease, a tension that cannot be ignored. This tension is a signal from Allah, a gentle reminder that the heart is not meant to bend to the world's expectations at the expense of divine guidance. He calls us back to sincerity, to authenticity, to devotion. The moment we respond to this call, the soul begins to regain its balance. Each sincere prayer, each deliberate act of obedience, and each moment of trust in Allah strengthens the heart against the corrosive effect of people pleasing. Trust in Allah is central to this journey. The more we rely on His wisdom, the less our hearts are swayed by fleeting judgment. We begin to understand that Allah knows what is best for us, that He is aware of our struggles, and that His guidance is sufficient to navigate the complexities of life. This trust allows us to act with integrity, to pray with sincerity, and to live with purpose. When we shift our focus from human approval to divine satisfaction, we reclaim the peace that was stolen by the constant pursuit of others' opinions. The heart becomes a sanctuary of certainty, a place where the soul rests, and the connection with Allah grows stronger each day. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, taught us the importance of intention in every action. A deed done for worldly recognition is limited in reward, but a deed done solely for Allah, no matter how small, carries immense value. This principle reminds us that the cost of people pleasing is not just emotional, it is spiritual. Every act, every word, every choice influenced by fear of judgment diminishes the potential reward and purity of our deeds. In contrast, when our lives are anchored in seeking Allah's pleasure, even ordinary acts become transformative. Each step we take in faith becomes a building block for a heart fortified against distraction, a soul aligned with divine purpose, and a life imbued with peace. As we journey through life, let us remind ourselves that people will come and go, opinions will shift, and the world's praise is fleeting. But Allah is eternal, His mercy is boundless, and His guidance is perfect. When our hearts are anchored in Him, we are liberated from the anxiety of judgment, the pressure of conformity, and the emptiness of hollow approval. Our devotion becomes unwavering, our prayers sincere, and our souls tranquil. The cost of people pleasing is high, but the reward of obedience is immeasurable. And so, every time you feel the pull to act to please someone at the expense of your faith, remember this: true strength, true peace, and true fulfillment are found in living for Allah alone, not for the fleeting applause of the world. Fear of judgment is one of the most subtle yet powerful forces that holds people captive. It is invisible, silent, yet it shapes our choices, words, and even our innermost thoughts. From the moment we become aware of the world around us, we begin to measure ourselves against others. Their expectations, their opinions, their approval. This measurement creates a pressure, a constant tension that gnaws at the heart. We worry about how we are perceived, how our actions might be judged, and whether we will be accepted or rejected. Over time, this fear becomes a chain, and the heart, which is meant to soar in trust and devotion to Allah, becomes trapped, restless, and burdened. We often forget that human judgment is limited, fleeting, and flawed. People see only what is outward, but Allah sees what is within, the intention, the sincerity, the struggle, and the devotion. When we bend our lives to avoid criticism or to gain approval, we prioritize temporary, imperfect perspectives over eternal truth. Every step we take to avoid judgment can be a step away from our spiritual growth. Anxiety grows silently, almost imperceptibly, as the fear of disapproval becomes a guide, replacing the guidance of Allah. And in this process, we begin to measure our worth by others rather than by the one who knows us best. The Quran reminds us that our hearts should be anchored in Him. So whoever desires honor through Allah, then to Allah belongs all honor. Surah Al-Nisa 4:139. This verse is a profound reminder that the esteem of the world is temporary and unreliable. True honor, true dignity, and true peace belong only to those who seek Allah's pleasure. When fear of judgment dominates the heart, we miss the essence of this teaching. We allow external voices to overshadow divine wisdom, and we trade eternal contentment for temporary approval. Anxiety fills the gaps left by this misplaced focus, leaving the heart weary, restless, and empty. Fear of judgment not only affects our actions, but also distorts our perception of reality. We begin to imagine disapproval where none exists, to assume criticism where there is none intended, and to overanalyze situations through a lens of insecurity. The heart becomes trapped in a cycle of imagined judgment, each thought feeding the next, each doubt growing heavier. This mental burden affects not only our spiritual life, but also our emotional and physical well-being. Sleep may be restless, attention scattered, and our ability to trust in Allah diminished. The heart longs for relief, yet it continues to bow to the fleeting opinions of the world, unaware that true peace comes only from alignment with divine guidance. Breaking free from this cycle begins with awareness. Recognize when your thoughts are driven by fear of judgment rather than by devotion. Pause, breathe, and reflect on the reality of Allah's knowledge. He is Al-Basir, the all-seeing, who knows the hidden and the apparent. He knows your intentions, your struggles, and your sincerity. No human can match this understanding. When this awareness settles in the heart, the weight of imagined judgment begins to lift, the chains loosen, and a sense of freedom begins to emerge. You start to see that the world's opinions are fleeting shadows, powerless to affect the soul that seeks Allah's pleasure. Obedience to Allah provides clarity and courage. When the heart is focused on Him, actions are guided by principle rather than by fear. Speaking truth, standing for justice, and acting with integrity become natural, even when others may misunderstand or criticize. The heart is no longer bound by the worry of fleeting judgment, but is anchored in the certainty of divine oversight. This certainty allows the soul to flourish, to grow, and to experience a peace that cannot be shaken by external opinion. The fear of judgment diminishes not because the world changes, but because the heart's perspective has shifted. Patience plays a crucial role in this transformation. The human heart is naturally sensitive, and the fear of judgment cannot be removed instantly. It requires consistent effort, reflection, and trust in Allah's guidance. Each time a moment arises where fear tempts you to conform, choose instead to act with sincerity. Each time you feel anxious about disapproval, remind yourself that only Allah's opinion truly matters. With patience, the heart gradually becomes resilient, and the chains of fear lose their grip. In this space, spiritual growth accelerates. and the heart experiences the serenity that comes from living in accordance with divine will. Trust in Allah is inseparable from overcoming the fear of judgment. When we place our reliance fully upon Him, the opinions of others lose their power. The Quran says, "And rely upon Allah, and sufficient is Allah as disposer of affairs." Surah Al-Ahzab 33:3. Trusting Allah means acknowledging that He knows what is best for us, that He controls all outcomes, and that His mercy encompasses every trial. When the heart surrenders to this reality, fear no longer dictates choices. Instead, the heart is guided by wisdom, conviction, and faith. The peace that comes from this trust is profound, steady, and enduring, far surpassing the fleeting comfort of human approval. Fear of judgment often distorts relationships as well. We may speak words we do not mean, hide our true selves, or compromise our values to avoid criticism. These acts may temporarily ease anxiety, but they create deeper unrest in the heart. Authenticity, a cornerstone of spiritual and emotional health, becomes compromised. Yet, when the heart turns to Allah, relationships shift naturally. Interaction is guided by integrity and kindness, rather than by the pressure to conform. Others may judge, misunderstand, or oppose, but the heart remains unshaken because it is anchored in divine approval. Freedom emerges not from the absence of judgment, but from the prioritization of Allah's satisfaction above all else. The fear of judgment is a test, a challenge placed before the heart to strengthen trust in Allah and resilience in faith. Those who overcome this fear gain more than freedom. They gain wisdom, clarity, and a profound inner strength. Their actions are deliberate, their intentions pure, and their hearts aligned with divine guidance. The anxiety that once clouded thought and muddled perception dissipates, replaced by a sense of serenity that no worldly opinion can disrupt. The heart learns that true peace is never found in pleasing people, but in seeking Allah's approval and living according to His commands. Every moment spent in fear of judgment is an opportunity to redirect the heart toward Allah. Every action chosen for His pleasure rather than the world's approval strengthens the soul. Every intention purified from fear and aligned with devotion becomes a source of light, guidance, and tranquility. The chains of anxiety loosen with each conscious act of trust, with each surrender to divine wisdom, and with each moment of sincere obedience. The heart that once trembled under imagined scrutiny begins to flourish in the freedom of divine alignment. And so, whenever fear threatens to control your choices, remember this: you cannot manage the thoughts of others, but you can cultivate the pleasure of Allah. Let your actions reflect obedience, sincerity, and devotion. Let your heart be guided by His wisdom, not the fleeting opinions of the world. In this, you find true freedom, peace, and certainty. When the heart is consumed by the desire to please others, it drifts away from the source of true peace and meaning. Every action becomes measured by external approval, every decision shaded by fear of judgment, and every effort weighed against human opinion rather than divine guidance. The solution lies in a deliberate, conscious shift of focus, from the fleeting applause of the world to the enduring satisfaction of Allah. When energy, intention, and actions are redirected toward pleasing Him, the smallest acts take on monumental significance. Even a word spoken kindly, a gesture of compassion, or a moment of patience becomes meaningful when offered sincerely for Allah alone. The heart, once restless and preoccupied with others' perceptions, begins to experience clarity, serenity, and a profound sense of purpose. This shift is not merely a change in behavior, it is a transformation of the soul. When we orient our lives around Allah's pleasure, we no longer act to impress or conform. Our prayers regain their sincerity, our worship becomes a source of nourishment, and our daily deeds are infused with intention and awareness. The Quran reminds us that Allah sees what is hidden and values the intention behind every act. And whatever good you put forward for yourselves, you will find it with Allah. It is better and greater in reward. Surah Al-Muzammil 73:20. This verse illuminates a profound truth. External recognition is limited, but Allah's acknowledgement is boundless. When the heart is aligned with His guidance, every effort, no matter how small, carries eternal weight. Redirecting focus to Allah also liberates the heart from the burden of comparison. The world constantly tempts us to measure our success, our worth, and our actions against others. Social standards, peer pressure, and societal expectations create an unending cycle of evaluation and anxiety. But when the heart seeks only Allah's satisfaction, these comparisons lose their power. You no longer define your value through someone else's lens. Instead, your worth is measured by sincerity, intention, and devotion. A simple act done with purity of heart is more valuable than a grand gesture performed for recognition. The tranquility that emerges from this awareness is incomparable. It brings freedom from envy, restlessness, and the constant need to perform. True contentment arises when the heart aligns with Allah's guidance. It is not achieved by accumulating accolades, social approval, or material success. Contentment is a reflection of trust, trust in His wisdom, trust in His timing, and trust in His mercy. When the heart is anchored in Him, external circumstances, praise or criticism lose their ability to disturb inner peace. Even in difficulty, when worldly recognition falters or disappears, the soul remains steady because it seeks fulfillment in divine satisfaction. This alignment transforms ordinary moments into acts of worship. Daily routines, once mundane, gain depth, meaning, and reward when performed with the intention of pleasing Allah. The process of shifting focus begins with mindfulness and intention. Each day presents countless opportunities to redirect thoughts, actions, and energy toward Allah. Before speaking, acting, or deciding, the heart can pause and ask, is this for him or for others? Is this action rooted in sincerity, or is it influenced by the desire for approval? This simple reflection, repeated consistently, retrains the mind and nurtures the heart. Over time, the habit strengthens and the soul becomes attuned to divine guidance. Choices are no longer dictated by fear, conformity, or insecurity, but are grounded in sincerity, integrity, and devotion. Redirecting focus to Allah also deepens gratitude and recognition of His mercy. When the heart stops seeking validation from the world, it becomes aware of the countless blessings that surround it, the guidance that illuminates the path, and the mercy that sustains life. Every act of obedience, from prayer to charity to kind words, becomes a channel for expressing gratitude and drawing nearer to Him. Gratitude itself becomes a form of worship, and worship becomes a source of profound inner fulfillment. The more the heart centers on Allah, the more it recognizes His presence in every moment, and the more meaningful life becomes. This alignment with Allah's pleasure transforms relationships as well. When we act for Him rather than for people, interactions are no longer tainted by pretense or fear of judgment. We communicate with sincerity, treat others with genuine compassion, and maintain integrity regardless of how we are perceived. Others may misunderstand or criticize, but the heart remains secure because its focus is not on approval, but on authenticity and divine guidance. In this way, redirection to Allah not only strengthens the spiritual self, but also enhances the quality of our interactions and the depth of our connections. Trust and reliance on Allah are fundamental in sustaining this shift. The heart must learn to place its energy, decisions, and expectations in His hands. The Quran reminds us and rely upon Allah, and sufficient is Allah as disposer of affairs of Surah Al-Ahzab 33:3. This reliance allows the soul to release anxiety, doubts, and fears rooted in the opinions of others. When the heart trusts Him completely, every action becomes purposeful, every intention becomes significant, and every moment becomes an opportunity to earn divine reward. The fear of judgment diminishes, and the freedom to act with integrity and devotion flourishes. Shifting focus also reinforces patience, a vital quality in faith. Human recognition is inconsistent, praise comes and goes, and validation is often conditional. But Allah's approval is constant, perfect, and eternal. Patience allows the heart to endure the absence of worldly acknowledgement without compromising sincerity. Every trial, challenge, or misunderstanding becomes a test of faith rather than a source of insecurity. With patience, the heart learns to persist in acts of devotion, to maintain integrity in behavior, and to uphold sincerity in all circumstances, knowing that Allah's satisfaction is the ultimate goal. Every act, when redirected toward Allah, becomes transformative. Simple deeds, feeding the hungry, offering a smile, forgiving a fault, or even speaking a kind word, gain immense value when motivated by divine intention. The heart experiences fulfillment that external recognition cannot provide. Life is no longer a performance for the world, but a sacred journey of alignment, obedience, and trust. The soul feels lighter, freer, and more connected to its purpose. Each day becomes a chance to cultivate sincerity, to strengthen faith, and to draw closer to the one whose pleasure defines ultimate success. Ultimately, this redirection of focus is a journey of the heart. It is not instantaneous but requires awareness, reflection, and consistent effort. Every distraction, every urge to seek approval, every moment of anxiety presents an opportunity to return to Allah. With each conscious choice to act for Him, the heart gains strength, clarity, and serenity. The freedom that emerges from this shift is profound. Freedom from judgment, freedom from comparison, freedom from restlessness, and freedom to live authentically in alignment with divine guidance. And so, when the pull of the world grows strong, when the desire for recognition tempts the heart, remember that true contentment is found only in Allah. Every act, no matter how small, is meaningful when done with sincerity for Him alone. Let the heart align with His guidance, release the need for applause, and embrace the peace that comes from living solely for His pleasure. Breaking free from the chains of seeking approval and fear of judgment begins with awareness. The heart must first recognize the moments when its actions are guided by the opinions of others rather than the pleasure of Allah. This requires honesty, reflection, and a willingness to examine oneself without denial or excuse. Each time a decision is made, each word spoken, or each gesture performed, the heart should pause and ask, am I acting to gain someone's approval, or am I acting to fulfill my duty to Allah? This awareness is the first step toward liberation, for without it, the cycle continues unseen, silently draining the soul of peace, joy, and sincerity. Once awareness takes root, it naturally invites reflection. The heart begins to understand the cost of acting for others, how prayers may lose depth, how intentions may be clouded, and how restlessness creeps in unnoticed. Reflection is not condemnation, it is gentle observation, a way of returning to the path of sincerity. By noticing these patterns, the heart learns to replace external motives with divine intention. Each action, whether mundane or significant, becomes an opportunity to seek Allah's pleasure. Speaking is tempered by intention, behavior is guided by principle, and every choice is infused with consciousness of His presence. In this way, reflection transforms awareness into purposeful action. Speaking less to please others is an essential step in this transformation. The tongue, when used to gain favor, often amplifies restlessness. Words spoken out of fear of judgment or desire for approval can mislead, misrepresent, or dilute sincerity. By choosing silence over superficial speech, the heart cultivates patience, integrity, and clarity. Silence allows thought to align with intention and action to reflect devotion. When the heart is no longer compelled to justify itself constantly or to seek acceptance through words, it finds freedom. Speech becomes meaningful, deliberate, and infused with purpose, and every word spoken is an act of connection rather than a bid for approval. Prayer becomes a vital anchor in this process. When the heart feels the pull of external validation, returning to Allah through prayer reinforces focus, intention, and trust. Every prayer offered with sincerity becomes a reminder that ultimate satisfaction lies not in the fleeting praise of people, but in divine acknowledgement. Salah, dua, and reflection deepen the bond with Allah, providing clarity of purpose and reinforcing the heart's resilience against worldly distraction. When the heart is grounded in prayer, the fear of judgment diminishes, replaced by the certainty that the one who sees all knows our intentions and rewards our sincerity. Acting with courage rooted in faith is another crucial step. Courage is not merely boldness in the eyes of people. It is the strength to act rightly even when misunderstood, criticized, or opposed. Faith gives this courage its foundation. When the heart trusts Allah fully, it no longer hesitates at the thought of disapproval. Decisions are made with integrity, kindness, and alignment with divine guidance rather than human expectation. Each courageous act strengthens the heart, reinforces sincerity, and diminishes the influence of fear. Over time, courage rooted in faith becomes habitual, and the soul experiences freedom from the invisible chains of people pleasing. Consistency is vital in sustaining these steps. Liberation from approval. Seeking does not occur in a single moment or through a single act. It is cultivated daily in the small choices, the subtle reflections, and the repeated commitment to intention. Every decision offers an opportunity to realign with Allah's pleasure, choosing honesty over convenience, humility over pride, obedience over conformity, and trust over fear. Consistency transforms these practices from conscious effort into a natural way of life, where the heart acts from devotion rather than from the pressure of judgment. Patience accompanies every step. The human heart is naturally sensitive to opinion and approval, and old patterns cannot be undone overnight. Each moment of awareness, reflection, and deliberate choice is a small victory that strengthens the soul. Patience allows the heart to endure misunderstanding, to resist temptation, and to maintain sincerity in the face of challenges. The Quran reminds us, "So be patient." Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth. Surah Ar-Rum 30:60. Patience nurtures resilience, enabling the heart to remain steadfast while the external world continues to impose expectations and judgments. Trust in Allah deepens this process. The heart learns to rely on His wisdom, His timing, and His mercy. When uncertainty arises or fear tempts the soul, reliance upon Allah provides stability and clarity. The words, "and rely upon Allah," and "sufficient is Allah as disposer of affairs," in Surah Al-Ahzab 33:3, guide the believer to surrender worry and anxiety to Him. Trust transforms every choice into an act of devotion, every hesitation into an opportunity for reflection, and every struggle into a means of strengthening faith. It ensures that the heart acts with courage, speaks with sincerity, and moves freely from the pressure of human judgment. Forgiveness, both of self and others, is also essential in breaking free. Often, fear of judgment is amplified by past mistakes, by imagined criticism, or by internalized self-condemnation. By seeking forgiveness from Allah and forgiving oneself for moments of weakness, the heart lightens. By forgiving others and releasing concern over their opinions, the soul gains freedom. Each act of forgiveness is a step away from anxiety and a step toward alignment with divine pleasure. It cultivates humility, clarity, and peace, reinforcing the shift from people pleasing to sincere devotion. Every moment, every action, and every intention can be transformed through this conscious redirection. Acts of worship, acts of kindness, even the way one approaches daily tasks, each can serve as an opportunity to seek Allah's satisfaction rather than human applause. The heart gradually becomes attuned to divine guidance. External distractions lose their grip. Internal restlessness diminishes. The soul experiences serenity, strength, and freedom, realizing that every effort undertaken for Allah alone carries eternal significance and reward. Ultimately, these practical steps create a life of balance, sincerity, and divine connection. Awareness keeps the heart vigilant, reflection strengthens understanding, deliberate speech preserves integrity, prayer anchors the soul, courage sustains action, consistency ensures growth, patience nurtures resilience, trust deepens reliance, and forgiveness liberates the spirit. Together, they form a path that leads away from fear, distraction, and approval, seeking toward peace, authenticity, and contentment in Allah's sight. The soul learns to act freely, to think clearly, and to live authentically, guided by divine pleasure rather than human perception. And so, as each day begins and ends, remember this: pause in awareness, replace worldly motives with divine intention, speak sincerely, pray deeply, and act courageously. In doing so, the heart gradually breaks free from the chains of judgment and approval, finding true freedom, serenity, and alignment with Allah. Inner peace is a treasure often sought in the world but rarely found in it. So many hearts are restless, weighed down by the constant need for approval, the subtle chains of judgment, and the pressure to conform. We look to others for validation, hoping that their praise will bring calm, that their recognition will bring joy, that their acceptance will bring serenity. Yet the world's approval is fleeting, unpredictable, and ultimately hollow. True peace is not granted by applause, praise, or external recognition. It is discovered only when the heart releases the need for approval and anchors itself in the mercy, guidance, and pleasure of Allah. This release is not passive. It is a deliberate, conscious surrender that transforms the soul and illuminates the heart. When the heart lets go of seeking validation from others, it becomes a sanctuary, a place of trust, patience, and love for Allah. The mind no longer races with worries about perception or judgment, and the soul no longer trembles at imagined disapproval. The heart rests in certainty, in the knowledge that Allah sees all, knows all, and rewards sincerely. The Quran reminds us, indeed, Allah will not change the condition of a people until they change what is in themselves. Surah Ar-Ra'd 13:11. The moment the heart turns inward to realign intentions and actions with divine guidance, the turbulence of the world fades. Fear, anxiety, and restlessness lose their hold, replaced by clarity, strength, and tranquility. Inner peace begins with trust. Trust in Allah is the foundation that allows the heart to release its dependence on human approval. When the soul relies fully on Him, it understands that every situation, every trial, and every interaction is under His divine wisdom. Fear of judgment diminishes because the heart recognizes that ultimate accountability belongs only to the Creator. Trust is not passive resignation, it is active confidence that every choice, every effort, and every moment of obedience carries meaning in His sight. This awareness liberates the heart from the constant need to impress, conform, or seek recognition. The soul feels free, light, and capable of genuine sincerity in every action. Patience accompanies this trust. Human hearts are naturally inclined to seek immediate reassurance from others, but the heart anchored in Allah learns to endure. Patience is the shield that protects the soul from the fluctuations of praise and criticism, allowing it to remain steady amidst change. The Quran says, "So be patient. Indeed, the promise of Allah is truth." Surah Ar-Rum 30:60. Each moment of patience strengthens the heart, fortifies faith, and reinforces reliance on divine guidance. As restlessness diminishes, the heart grows capable of sustaining calm, even when surrounded by uncertainty, misunderstanding, or judgment. Patience allows inner peace to flourish, not as a temporary reprieve, but as a lasting state of the soul. Love for Allah deepens this serenity. When the heart's intention is rooted in devotion, every act becomes infused with meaning. The ordinary becomes extraordinary and mundane moments gain significance. A simple prayer, a charitable act, or a word of kindness transforms into a bridge connecting the heart to divine pleasure. Love for Allah shifts focus away from the external world and toward the eternal. Praise or criticism from people loses its power to disturb because the heart is fully aware of the one whose acknowledgement truly matters. The soul begins to dwell in a state of fulfillment, contentment, and gratitude, recognizing that divine approval is sufficient for eternal peace. Releasing the need for approval also liberates the mind. Anxiety and worry are natural consequences of living for others' opinions. Each action, word, or gesture becomes a potential source of judgment, causing the heart to tremble and the mind to race. But when focus shifts entirely toward Allah, these anxieties fade. Thoughts become aligned with intention, and actions become deliberate, sincere, and meaningful. The heart no longer measures worth through external standards, but finds certainty in divine guidance. Inner peace is no longer dependent on human fluctuations. It is anchored in eternal, unwavering truth. This liberation transforms daily life. The simplest moments, once overshadowed by the need for recognition, become opportunities for reflection, worship, and sincere service. Eating, speaking, working, and interacting with others are all imbued with purpose when the heart seeks only Allah's pleasure. The world may misunderstand, misinterpret, or fail to recognize these actions, but the heart rests in the knowledge that sincerity is rewarded and observed by the all-seeing. This realization brings a profound sense of freedom and lightness. The soul is unshackled from fear, judgment, and comparison, allowing clarity, focus, and tranquility to flourish naturally. Forgiveness, both of self and others, complements inner peace. Often, the heart clings to past failures, imagined criticisms, or self-judgment. Letting go, seeking Allah's forgiveness, and forgiving others lightens the soul. The heart no longer carries the weight of unnecessary burden or resentment. As the need for human approval diminishes, the space for mercy, compassion, and understanding grows. Forgiveness transforms the heart into a sanctuary, free from tension, envy, and worry. Peace becomes the natural state rather than a distant aspiration. Prayer and remembrance further reinforce this serenity. The heart focused on Allah finds comfort in salah, in dua, and in quiet reflection. Regular communication with the Creator nurtures trust, strengthens patience, and deepens love. It is in these moments of sincere devotion that the heart experiences a profound release from worldly concerns. Each supplication is a reminder that Allah is sufficient, that His mercy is vast, and that His guidance provides everything needed for contentment. The soul rests in certainty, knowing that the fleeting opinions of people cannot affect the eternal reward of sincere action. Freedom from the need for approval also enhances relationships. Interactions with others are no longer driven by fear, obligation, or desire to impress. Instead, communication becomes honest, compassionate, and grounded in principle. The heart can act authentically without hidden motives or the need for validation. Others may misunderstand, misjudge, or criticize, but the soul remains steady because its foundation is rooted in divine satisfaction. Inner peace empowers the heart to engage with the world sincerely, calmly, and purposefully. Every action, every thought, and every intention becomes an opportunity to reinforce this inner peace. Awareness ensures the heart recognizes moments of distraction or external influence. Reflection allows the heart to correct its course. Silence, prayer, patience, trust, love, forgiveness, and sincerity become instruments to maintain the sanctuary of the soul. Life is no longer a performance for others, but a devoted journey of alignment with Allah's will. The soul experiences freedom, clarity, and profound fulfillment that no external praise can ever provide. Ultimately, the power of inner peace lies in surrender. By releasing the need for approval, the heart becomes anchored in trust, patience, and love for Allah. Praise may come and go, criticism may arise, and circumstances may change, but the heart remains steady, serene, and secure. Peace is not in the applause of the world. It is found in submission to Him, in trust in His wisdom, and in reliance upon His mercy. The soul becomes a sanctuary, resilient, calm, and fully devoted. And so, when the weight of judgment, opinion, or approval tempts the heart, remember this. Serenity is found not in the world, but in surrender. Release the need for approval, anchor your heart in Allah, and embrace the profound, unwavering peace that comes from trusting His mercy and walking in devotion to Him. Remember, true peace does not come from the praise or approval of people. It comes from aligning your heart with Allah, trusting His mercy, and living sincerely for Him alone. Let your actions, intentions, and thoughts be guided by His pleasure, and you will discover a serenity that no worldly opinion can disturb. May Allah bless your efforts, strengthen your faith, and grant your heart unwavering peace. Jazak Allahu khair for listening, and don't forget to subscribe for more reminders that nourish the soul and illuminate the path of sincerity. Assalamu Alaikum.